So I had a great, interesting, helpful, hopeful, painful conversation with a woman recently. She came up. I was visiting one of the Mars Hill churches, and she couldn't look me in the eye. She was really discouraged, and when she started speaking, she started crying. So it was obvious something was troubling her. And I asked her, "What's wrong?" She said, "I'm so frustrated. I'm so discouraged. I'm so sad." I said, "Why?" She said, "There's so much sin in my life, and there's so many idols in my heart. And the more that I study, and the more that I read, and the more that I pray, the more that I realize all the problems that I have." And she seemed really sweet and sincere and tender-hearted, and seemed like she loved the Lord, and her intentions were good and noble. So I asked her, "Could you please look at me?" She looked at me, and then she just started really crying. I have that great gift of making people cry. And so she starts crying, and I said, "Is there any progress in your life, looking at, let's say, the last year? Anything to be encouraged by? Anything that you should celebrate?" She said, "Well, my husband left, and I had to go find a job, but I found a job, and I became a Christian." I was like, "What? That's a big deal." And I got baptized to identify myself with Jesus, and I went through the membership class at Mars Hill, so I'm part of the church, and now I have Christian friends, and I'm in a community group, and they're helping me with my struggles and kids. And I'm praying every day, and I'm reading the Bible every day. I said, "How's that going?" So I love the Scriptures, and I love Jesus, and I'm talking to him a lot, and I'm learning a lot. She said, "So I've signed up for a redemption group to work through some real abuse issues in my past." I looked at her, I said, "Why are you discouraged? You are growing so fast. Like, you're making so much progress so quickly." She said, "Yeah, but Jesus says we should be perfect." I said, "Oh, let me tell you why he said that. He said that to frustrate you, so that you would try for a while and then come to a place where you realize, I'm not perfect and I can't be perfect. And then you would realize that he's your perfection, and that you'd receive grace from him and rest in that. You wouldn't be like the Old Testament Jews who were looking for every speck of dust in the house. I know it's here somewhere. Where is it? There it is. There's always something that's unclean. We tend to do that with our own soul. I know there's dirt and filth here somewhere. Let me find it. I knew I wasn't clean. I said, Jesus was perfect. You're not. And Jesus told you to try to be perfect so you'd realize you can't do it, and that you'd receive his perfection and his grace and his mercy. And I looked her in the eye and I said, "Hear me in this. Jesus is so pleased with you. Jesus is so pleased with you." She said, "But I'm not perfect." I said, "Neither am I. But he's pleased because he sees progress. He's pleased because he sees progress. Until we die and rise and see Jesus face to face, we're not going to be perfect. It doesn't say in the Scriptures that we should have a lackadaisical attitude toward our sin, or not deal with it, or give ourselves lots of excuses. But we need to understand that Jesus alone is perfect, and he is our perfection. And we need to celebrate progress in our life and progress in the life of others. Well, this woman, I had this great honor of serving her. She looked at me, she said, do you think he's really pleased with me? I said, "I'm sure he is. I'm your pastor. I'm really pleased with you. I mean, look at all of this progress in 1 year. It's amazing. Your heart's very tender." And she smiled, and I got to hug her and pray for her. Here's the big idea as we get into Esther chapter 4, as we look at Jesus as a better mediator in Esther 4, 1 through 17. As we look at the story of Mordecai and Esther, they're not perfect, despite what they might have told you in some class or study or curriculum. These are not perfect people. But starting in chapter 4, it's like a hinge, and the whole story swings on it. They start making progress.